Welcome to the London Free Press Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Gilbert. London's Home County Folk Festival has announced that it's canceling the 2024 event, which would have been its 50th festival as it reevaluates its future. The nonprofit festival, which began in London in 1974, has been running at a financial loss for the last 2 seasons, and organizers say it simply isn't viable to do it again. So today I'm talking with London Free Press reporter Jennifer Bieman to find out if this is really the end for Home County and if their struggles are affecting other nonprofits in the area. Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I know that you're in your car. You're out reporting. You're kind of out today. So thank you for making time for us because I know you've been following this story pretty closely. So let's just start off with why are they canceling? What are the reasons for canceling this year's festival?
This came as quite a surprise to us, huh? Like on Thursday
Mm-hmm.
last week, they said, hey, this is just, we're going to take a hiatus. We're going to take a beat. We're going to reevaluate our future, not just of the festival itself, but of our own board, of our own group of people. It's coming about because, frankly, money's a big thing that they're dealing with. They operated at a loss with a smaller pared down festival in 2022. This year's the losses could be up to $30,000, which
Wow.
is a lot for this organization. Now they get grants and donations and things, but certainly they don't see a viable future for it as is. The other big thing for them is volunteers in their top ranks and even their kind of, rank and file members the weekend of. So, I mean, those are the two big pressures. The one chairperson had said if we were just facing one or the other, we might be able to make this work, but both at the same time is a bit too much for the volunteer organization.
Okay, let's talk about the money first of all, because they've been running at a loss. So they've been trying to make it work, but they're saying it's so bad now that not even if we crowdfunded for a year, not even a one-time big injection would help them at this point. Is that right?
Absolutely. So their big thing is sustainability. So they don't want to just, kind of be every year by their fingernails just trying to scrape by with, a crowd fund or something like that, or even,
Mm-hmm.
even just trying to chase grants or other things. They need a path to something that's a bit more sustainable for them. And that was the thing. So they would need a lot of money over and over again. Which is why they're really evaluating kind of the shape of the festival and the shape of its board and what Home County looks like moving forward.
Can you give us approximate numbers on how much the festival costs every year? Like what are the numbers? We know that they ran at a deficit of about $7,000 with the pared down festival, and then you said about 25,000 when they were back to full. What are the numbers? How much does it even cost to operate? Because it is mostly volunteers.
It is, all but two people, two part-timers are volunteers. If you look at the CRA filings, it is a registered charity. You can see their financial statements and where they get their money from and how they're expending it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an over $200,000 organization every year. I think it's maybe 270 or something if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
And their big thing every year is the festival. So it's not difficult to imagine that festivals costing quite a bit to put on, from the stages to the permits to the insurance to all kinds of things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing in money from vendors that do choose to set up shop at the festival. So they've got that kind of revenue stream. But, the chairperson was saying it's been difficult for them to really clinch long term, sustained corporate sponsorships in the way that we see TD Sunfest does with their title sponsor.
Mm.
So, financially, it's just been a bit of a slog for them. And yeah, they're just looking at what's next.
I'm surprised there's not, I'm surprised that such a long standing festival has had trouble finding a corporate sponsor. This is one of the longest running festivals in the city.
Sure, there's lots of places the corporations can spend money nowadays, certainly.
That's
And
true.
also,
Yep.
we're also dealing in a situation where, things haven't been too great for Canadians in the last couple of years, at least
Mm-hmm.
financially, right? We've had
Mm-hmm.
inflation, cost of living is going up, cost of doing business is going up. So, that's another thing that even, all nonprofits in the city seem to have kind of seen is that, places they could reliably go to for
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 each year, are saying, okay, well, it'll be a little less this year, or they're still ponying up the 10 grand, but it's not going as far as it used to.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. I want to talk about volunteers and then also that this is not just a problem for Home County. You have talked to other organizations as well. So let's just talk about the volunteers first, because it's kind of a double-barreled question. What's the trouble with finding volunteers? Where did they go? Why aren't they coming back?
Well, in the pandemic, they sent them all home. Remember those early days where we were all
Mm,
kind of sitting around? And I think a lot of people, their lives have gotten busier and changed, and things have moved on during the pandemic. So, that old, that old thing you used to be involved with pre-pandemic, maybe you fell off the bandwagon with it, and then your life changed a little over a couple years, and you don't return to it. I think we've all got things in our life that are like that. So
mm-hmm.
that's a big thing. And then also just as far as like leadership goes for the home county board. They've got a few stalwart people that are really into it, but just not a lot of people that are willing to step up and take on running this massive event, because that's a lot of a demand on someone's time. And so they've also had trouble just sort of from through the board chair saying this, that just getting those kind of top level talent to really put in so many hours to get this thing going. So kind of on two fronts
Mm.
there.
It's a lot of work if you're a volunteer. And like you said, the two actual paid people are only part-time, right? So they're
Absolutely.
not even
Yeah.
full-time.
No, for sure. And if you look
Yeah.
at the compensation on the CRA filing, like it's not a giant amount, right? They're truly trying to work leanly and within their means to make this festival possible.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just not as possible anymore.
You were talking to Pillar Nonprofit Network, and of course, they're the umbrella organization for a lot of nonprofits in the city. Are they seeing similar things happening with a lot of their members as well?
Pillar Nonprofit's executive directors, former city councilor Maureen Cassidy, called it a crisis in the nonprofit sector in
Wow.
the city.
Wow.
So, again, like I'd said, businesses are not as able to pony up the same amount of money. The cost of doing business for these nonprofit organizations is just increased through inflation and other things. And then the volunteer base that you really need, that sort of unpaid talent that shows up in big numbers to really, make your vision a reality. And those people aren't as around as much as they used to be. It's not
Mm-hmm.
to say they could be gone forever. Certainly there's ways, and Pillar has a few strategies and ideas to really try to bolster volunteerism and encourage it in London. But, right now that's kind of the reality that a lot of nonprofits are facing.
Are other nonprofits, and I don't know if you know this, are they looking at closing or paring down their services? Have they already done that because of the financial and volunteer strains?
I don't know of any yet, but it
Mhm.
certainly would be on their radar.
Yeah, for sure.
Festivals are very big, elaborate things to put on. There's been pressures on these festivals since COVID. People kind of sticking around home, people finding other things to do, people just sort of moving on from the yearly tradition every year going to the festival. Maybe that's just
Yeah.
not something people are into anymore. So I think they've had a hard couple of years adapting. Well, it'll be interesting to see how these things shake out. But yeah, it's a bit of a challenging time.
Yeah, we all kind of got used to staying home, right? So we're
A
not, you're
little bit.
right. That's right. You were talking to the London Music Office as well, because in terms of home county, there's a lot of local performers that play. And also because it's a city, the music office is associated with the city of London. There's a lot of economic spin-offs that we're going to miss from this festival too.
This was a beloved festival. It
Mhm.
still is in a lot of ways. There's going to be an AGM coming up later next month about sort of options for its future. But Sunfest brings in big talent from big places around the world. These really kind of famous acts. Home County brought in awesome talent too, like Fred Penner and Ashley McIsaac and many
Yeah.
others. But it also had local singers, local artists, local musicians, and they were jamming up there too. So it's just that's kind of the why. It was a great sort of connecting community, cultivator of talent and of
Hmm.
kind of London's music scene. And which is why, people in the arts community really, really want to see it continue in some way, shape, or form, just because it was such a positive community event for London's musicians.
Right. And getting all those people downtown, spending money at restaurants or, wherever they're going. Maybe they're coming in for the weekend and getting a hotel, and all of that adds up, right? And we're going to miss that.
Absolutely. Like, summer festival season in London's great. You could, rock the
Mhm.
park. It's Sunfest and Ribfest and Home County. And yeah, it's just every weekend there's something. And it just brings so much life and vitality to the core.
Yeah.
It brings people in that might not ever usually be in London too. Like maybe you're from out
Hmm.
of town, you come out for Home County and you realize, hey, this place is kind of cool. So yeah, it's a real loss, I guess, for even just for kind of those spin-off effects you get from a festival.
Hmm. You've also been talking with the London Arts Council, and they're going to be talking with the home county officials and organizers and trying to help them in some way. What are some ideas that they've been throwing out?
So the London Arts Council has supported Home County in the past with sort of administering its Canada Summer Jobs program and other things as well. They're really committed to trying to making something work. But again, London Arts Council has a kind of a finite amount of funds available to it to support, local creators. It'll be interesting to see what kind of strategies they come up with, or sort of planning or logistical back end supports that LAC is able to give Home County. But again, there are some very real pressures that are kind of outside the control of any arts council, of any city, of any kind of arts lover here, and it's just sort of the way that people lately have been behaving, just post pandemic.
Times change, and hopefully we can get back to maybe before times a little bit, so we can have these festivals and other things return that have closed. You mentioned that Home County is having an AGM at November 28th. What are they going to discuss? Like, we know that this year is canceled, but do we think this is indefinite, or what's the hope there?
Well, they're going to be laying it all out there, all their kind of financial things, the reason for the putting it on hiatus. I think it's really clear. They're very, very clear that this isn't the end of Homecoming forever. It's we're taking a beat. We're canceling next season. We're evaluating what we need to do to be more sustainable. At that AGM, they'll be talking about, where their financial position, their options, what they think are their options for their next step. The 3-day festival in Victoria Park, maybe that's just too big of a commitment. Maybe it becomes a smaller concert series. Maybe it becomes something completely different that, I haven't thought about or they haven't disclosed yet. Sure. So this will be the kind of thought that will be discussed there. Their members will vote, but the AGM will be public as well. So we'll be able to kind of see, what it is they envision for the future of Home County.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Jen. We're going to be watching your reporting on this and at lfpress.com, of course. And thank you for joining us. I know you had to do it on the road today, but we appreciate that. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much.